happened at the Capitol on January 6th was as wrong can be. It is not what America is about. Political violence of any kind is wrong. We condemn this violence. We commend the men and women of the Capitol Police for their bravery, and we mourn those who've lost their lives. All political violence should be condemned all the time. This should not be a partisan issue. Republicans have been consistent. We condemned the violence last summer. We condemned the violence last week. Congress needs to stop this effort to remove the president from office just 1 week before he is set to leave. Continued calls to impeach the president or remove him from office with using the 25th Amendment, I don't think are healthy for our nation. Rushing this resolution to the floor will do nothing to unify or heal the country. Under the plan Speaker Pelosi laid out on Sunday, the Democrats plan to impeach the president a second time just days before, as I said, he is set to leave. These actions will only again continue to divide the nation. Turning to the 25th Amendment into a political weapon by demanding that the vice president invoke it to remove the president from office, I think is just wrong. Let's be clear. Democrats have been wanting to remove President Trump from office since he won the election in 2016. They failed with the Russia investigation, they failed with the Mueller investigation, and they failed with their first impeachment investigation. So here we are again, considering another divisive effort to go after President Trump. We should use this time to bring the nation together, heal our partisan divisions. We should use this time to help the small business owners across the country who are struggling because of government's actions that close their businesses and close their stores. We should use this time to honor the men and women of law enforcement here at the Capitol and across the country who sacrifice themselves to keep our families safe. But it looks like we're not going to go down that path. We're here again to consider a Democrat resolution to attack the president just 8 days before he has said he will leave office, just 8 days before we will have a peaceful transition of power as we have had in this country every 4 or 8 years since our nation's founding. I urge my colleagues to oppose this resolution and would yield back.
Thank you very much. Let me just let me begin, if I could. Mr. Jordan, this isn't a both sides issue. Our Capitol was attacked. 5 people are dead. Countless people are wounded. We had a group of domestic terrorists, homegrown fascists, that came to the Capitol building to desecrate this symbol of democracy and freedom, and to do harm to people. And with all due respect, I'm glad that all it took for you to call for unity and healing was for our freedom and our democracy to be attacked. But for the last several months, the gentleman from Ohio and others have given oxygen to the president's conspiracy theories. And we all want healing, but in order to get to healing, we need truth and we need accountability. People came to the Capitol building to try to launch a coup to stop us from upholding our constitutional responsibilities. I was on the floor, the House floor. I know you were and others, but I was one of the last people to walk off the House floor. And when I went into the Speaker's lobby, I saw this mob, trying to break glass doors to get access to the floor, and God knows what else. They defied the Capitol Police, who were bravely trying to protect us, and I saw in their eyes, hate and evil, and I'm just grateful that more people weren't harmed in this terrible attack. But they came here to destroy things, to desecrate things, and they did so because the President of the United States told them to go do it. At his urging, they came to the Capitol. Some of them, I'm listening to some of the commentary, thought he was here. But he incited that mob, and unfortunately, some of our colleagues joined in that effort to gin things up. And our job as elected officials is to tell the truth. So my question for you is, will you admit that Joe Biden won fair and square and the election was not rigged or stolen?
My headphone. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
I can.
Mr. Chairman, what I did over the past several months is follow the process that the Constitution prescribes. It wasn't me who said it was Justice Ginsburg.
That's not the question I asked.
No, I'll get to the question, but I'm going to get to your comments too.
I don't need a filibuster. We just want to get.
I'm not going to filibuster, Mr. Chairman. The late Justice Ginsburg said January 6th is the date of ultimate significance. That's how Congress set this up in the statute they passed dealing with the 12th Amendment. So we followed that process, and at 4 a.m. on Thursday, January 7th, when we concluded our business on the floor, Joe Biden became, Vice President Biden became President-elect Biden. That's how the process plays out. Those of us who spoke against the unconstitutional way several states conducted their election, we're following the process, and we did nothing different than Democrats have done every time a Republican's been elected this century. In fact, our colleague who is sponsoring this resolution objected to on January 6, 2017.
So is that
we followed the process. Of course, it's a yes, and I've said that publicly on television on Sunday.
But I'm not asking about the process. I'm asking you to make a statement that the election was not stolen, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won fair and square. That's the question.
The question you asked me was, is Joe Biden the vice president? Is Vice President? And I said yes. Of course he is.
You just repeated the question. So Joe Biden won fair and square.
He won the election because the way the process works is the last chance to object is January 6th, and
if we want to talk about
objection didn't prevail.
If we want to talk about healing, we have to talk about truth. And if we want to talk about healing, we also need to deal with the issue of accountability. And what this president incited last Wednesday is unforgivable and unconscionable. I'm used to the excesses of this president, the over-the-top statements, the pandering to some of the most intolerant groups in this country. But I never thought I would see what he said at that rally. And so the deal is, my question was very simple. I'm asking you to make a statement that the election was not stolen, that Joe Biden won fair and square. And, one of the ways to promote healing is for you to say yes and to put that on your Twitter account so that all these people who bought into a lie will start hearing from some of the people that were pushing this. The answer is, the American people.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Joe Biden is going to be sworn in as president. He is President-elect Joe Biden today.
That's not the question I asked. That is not the question I asked.
Yeah, our concern and why we raised objections was in several states, the rules were changed in an unconstitutional fashion when the state legislature did not change election law. You had Secretary of State, you had governors, you had Supreme Courts. In some cases, you had county clerks changing the election law. That's what we're pointing out. That's all we were pointing out.
Yeah, well,
just like our colleague Mr. Raskin pointed out concerns he had on January 6, 2017, with the election of
the gentleman
Trump then.
Well, you refuse to answer that question, and I think that's one of the. You want to talk
I
about?
do not refuse. He's going to be the president. I've said that on television. He's going to be the president. I know that. The country knows that.
That is not the question I asked. I asked you to lay bare the fact that this lie out there that somehow that Joe Biden did not win the election fair and square. He did. The president to this day continues to perpetrate that. And so does.
Are you saying there was no problems there was no concerns with this election? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Chairman? Of course, I understand Joe Biden won. But are you saying there's no concerns with this election?
I will yield to the gentleman from Maryland if he has any